Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to talk about entrepreneurism and entrepreneurs in general, and we're going to go into the discussion around the common missteps of entrepreneurs and let you know a little bit about why entrepreneurs fail. And we've talked about the book, The E-Myth Revisited. We've talked about that on this channel quite a bit. This is what that looks like. It is something that all entrepreneurs should read if you're looking at going into business for yourself. And this is by Michael Gerber. He's written several other books as well that are pretty good books also. I would say to you, if you've already made the jump and you're working for yourself as an entrepreneur, then you need to take the time to watch this video in its entirety and maybe watch it a few times. I've been an entrepreneur since 1996. And while I've worked for companies in a commercial corporate setting, I've also had companies of my own that I was running at the same time. I've always had multiple positions. It just seemed like to me that was the best way to spend my time. So I've seen a lot of these for myself. I've seen a lot of these in businesses that I've done consulting with, and I've seen a lot of these in big multinational corporations that have multiple locations and billion-dollar asset holdings. So just kind of take from this what you will, but I would definitely say watch this video more than once, and we'll dive into this. So common missteps of entrepreneurs. Financial mismanagement is number one. So poor budgeting and financial decisions. I'll say this. When you run a business, it is not your checking account. So you should not be living off of the business funds. What you should do is pay yourself a salary. You've heard people say pay yourself first, right? Even if that salary is minimal, you should pay yourself a salary. The money that the business makes for the first 3 years should be going back into the business. So what I mean by that is, let's say the business makes $100,000 a year, okay? And you pay yourself, and the cost per month is $3,000 to run the business. You make $10,000 a month. Actually, it'd be 8,000 some change to get to 100,000 a year. But you pay yourself a small wage that's reasonable, and the rest of the money should go back into the business. But it talks about poor budgeting and financial decisions. As a consultant, a lot of times what companies will have me do, and some of these have been companies that have run it for decades, is they'll hire me, I'll come in and I'll build a P&L for them, and I'll build a budget for them that typically goes out 5 to 10 years, depending on what the business is going through. And I'll do that using real sales numbers, and I'll do that using the bills that the company pays by looking at the bank statements and looking at the vendor list that you pay each month. And we go through those things and we get the exact numbers because the budget should be real. And what I'll see sometimes is people have P&Ls that doesn't have a whole lot to it. And so they put all these things in big blocks, not knowing exactly which each block is. I actually like to break it out on a P&L so you can see what each item is. And as you're going through that, you know what falls into what bucket. And then you need to look at each bucket and see how that impacts your bottom line. If it doesn't directly support your team or support the production quality of your product for your customers, and it doesn't improve the customer experience, then you need to cut it. And that's the next part around being financially managing things financially appropriately, is to cut cost where you can. So in a business lifetime, and there's a book called Team Turnarounds. This is what that looks like. And the guys that wrote the foreword in this book were the same guys that wrote the book that I mentioned in the last video, The Leadership Challenge. But in this book, it's also a good thought for someone who's starting a business to understand how these things work and the different segments that you go through in building a business to lead the business, okay? So to start out, you're trying to supply a product that covers a need. And that's how you know you have a product lifestyle that will be there and be supported through future profitability. But what you should be doing is learning how to win, right? And then you want to lead your team past losing. You want to get beyond losing, whatever that means. Losing money, losing market share, losing to other businesses in your area. You want to get past losing. The next stage 2 in this book, is commitment to growth. Stage 3 is changing behaviors. Stage 4 is embracing adversity. Stage 5 is achieving success. And stage 6 is nurturing the culture of excellence. What this is talking about is the process that we're going to talk about here in a much longer manner, basically. The idea should be that if you don't know what financial mismanagement looks like, then you need to get into the numbers and start figuring it out. Just assume that you have something that's being mismanaged, because there's always something you get better at. There's the other thing too. None of this is bad unless you're not correcting it. If you sustain this financial mismanagement, then you deserve to go out of business, because ultimately you're not going to be able to pay your vendors. You're not going to be able to serve your customers. So financial mismanagement is number one. That's the most common misstep of entrepreneurs. Second is ineffective marketing. And it says here, failing to reach and connect with the target audience. And then it says use, endorse, lead vendors, take advantage of network training, take advantage of different trainings, take advantage of different networks. Here's my suggestion around this: ineffective marketing. You need to reach to your target audience. I've seen people that had tons of marketing, but it was aimed at the wrong age group, or it was aimed at the wrong thought process. There was a different thing that would be a better market for that product, but not knowing how to test the markets and show the market demand, limit them on what they could do. So ineffective marketing is number two. I agree with that to an extent, but if you're cutting your cost and you're sustaining your business, that can have an impact on how you utilize the marketing. Choosing the wrong team. I've got to say, in the 90s and early 2000s, the third leading cause for businesses closing was teammate theft. So companies were closing because teammates were stealing. That doesn't mean they're wearing a mask and coming in and robbing the business. What that means is every day this so-and-so clocks in, they clock in 40 minutes late, but you pay them for the full hour. That's theft of time. Every day this person clocks in, they go and they take a free drink out of the soda machine. That's $1 that they're stealing every single day they work, right? And as you see how that compounds, or they make themselves a meal and they go outside of what the serving amount should be, right? They're feeding themselves 2 or 3 meals in one plate that should have been 1 meal because they get 1 free meal a day, etc. Those things all are theft, and over the grand scheme of things can sink a restaurant. I've consulted in many, many restaurants, and the idea around theft is the biggest piece. Employee theft specifically is what was dragging most of those restaurants down. So choosing the wrong team, hire individuals who are not the right fit for the business. Here's what I'll say about that. Be selective, be deliberate, know what you need to hire for, and hire that. Don't hire something that will do. Hire that. If you're going to take the time to select an individual, you need to make sure you look at some history. So I would suggest a job history that shows at least 2.5 years or 2 years in a role like what you're offering. So for example, if somebody said, Ben, what do you do? I'm a leader professionally. I've done that for 30 years. So it didn't matter what company I was doing at, I was at the same job. I was a leader at that company. I was in the same job. So you want that same thought process. So let's say it's an office manager you're trying to hire. They should have been an office manager for the last, 5 to 6 years, right? And had at least a 2-year period of time where they were at one job. If you see a situation where a person has jumped multiple times, there's a reason why they don't last at a job. And that suggests many, many things. You don't have the time or the money to waste on that. You need to figure that out. Use the resume for that experience as number one. Attitude should be number two. If they don't have a positive attitude, don't hire them. You don't want someone that comes in every day and takes your energy. They should be coming in every day and helping you be more than what you are. So be very deliberate in who you're hiring. If you choose the right team, it prevents the majority of these things from becoming failures or obstacles before you and your company. Okay. Next is poor time management. It says inefficient use of time and resources. I think that is an excellent call out. There's people all the time. I use this book right here. This is what I run my week on. When I'm doing different things, if I'm working at multiple businesses, each business will have its own notebook. It'll look something like this, or it will look something like this. And so each one of those businesses that I'm working with, I'll have a notebook like that that's in a folder. And every day when I'm working at that business, I put that schedule on when I'm going to be there in this book that stays on my desk in my office. The other ones go with me when I go to that location. That way at that location, I'm writing down the challenges, what we're doing, what's next, etc. with that location. That way I keep everything straight. That's time management and resource management for me. And so when I go through that, yes, I use the emails and everything else. And a lot of people use a calendar. So for each company, I'll have an email in their calendar, and we will use that calendar for the schedule. So we know schedules align, but I won't book on that calendar if I'm not looking at this book. So I book everything from my office, no matter what location I'm booking it for, because I want to make sure that I don't get double booked. Okay. And I used to have an assistant that did all that for me, and I most likely will end up hiring her back soon. But I had to build up some other things before I got to that point, that she handled my book, and I knew one calendar where everyone was booked into one calendar. And I do think that's the easiest way to do it. But as an entrepreneur, have a program, have a system. Don't just fly by the seat of your pants. Don't write stuff on sticky notes and all that jazz, because what's going to happen is you will lose a customer name, you'll lose a vendor name, you'll lose someone that you met because you put it on something instead of a permanent book. If I meet someone at an event, I write their name in the book on the day of that event. I may have their stuff saved in my phone, but I may not remember who that person was, or I might know 6 Vickies, and it was a Vicky that I talked to that was good at such and such. So write it in the book that you keep your calendar with. That way you have it and you can go back and oh yeah, I know who that person is. If you look, I thought so. We met him such and such. And you'll know where you met and how it went. And you'll have some notes maybe around that too, and you come across better. You're not burning a bridge, and you're not losing a contact, a customer, or a vendor because you put it on a freaking sticky note that flew out your window when you were driving down the highway with your window cracked. So think about this. You put effort in to be an entrepreneur. It's what you're doing 24/7. Okay. So you can't take losses like that because you're not paying attention. I always say this, there's no practice run. You get one life. Okay. So do it right. Be deliberate in handling things. In another video I'm doing soon, we're going to talk about the power of now, which is basically about being present in the current moment. As an entrepreneur, you need to be doing that all the time. You need to be conscious, and you need to be living in the present moment. What you screwed up yesterday doesn't matter, because the day is where you're at. That's already been done. There's nothing you can do about it. Learn from it, and every day moving forward, you get better. So live in the present moment. Schedule things appropriately. Do what you have to do correctly right now. And if you set up many, many days where you're doing the right thing that you should be doing right now, you're going to have a run of good luck. And it's not good luck at all. It's because you've been deliberate in structuring things the way they should be, being appropriate, managing things appropriately, so you're not taking losses. A lot of times when I go in and consult with a business, they'll tell me, well, we can't seem to do this or that. And as I'm watching what they do, they have no system that delegates deliberate actions to themselves or their team. So basically, everybody's just shooting in the dark all the time. It goes back to that old saying, if you want to get better, have a target that you know. If you're aiming at a target, then you're moving in the right direction, right? If you're not moving in the right direction, then why even get up in the morning? Because you're not heading down the direction that you want to head down. So for time management, I think, is more than what people think. Multitasking is BS. Manage your time appropriately so you can give the appropriate attention to the task that you're doing at the time. When everything is urgent and you're multitasking, all you're doing is you're doing a lot of things poorly. So manage your time appropriately. The people that make it in life and become millionaires and billionaires, and the people that are happy and have the lifestyle they want, is because they're deliberate in what they do. They have a clear view of what the goal is, and they go after that. That's a big part of time management. You have to manage your time. It's the only resource that there will never be any more of. Time is dwindling, and every day you live, it's that much smaller. So it's the one thing that you can't replace. Everything else can be. So make sure you're using that appropriately. It is a resource that is not renewable. Next thing is ignoring mentorship. All right, mentors, it's hard to say what a good mentorship is. If you've worked for a bunch of companies and all those companies like day 2, you're going to be signed a mentor, and that mentor is yada, 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 and you saw no value come from the mentor. A lot of times when people assign mentors, they're basically taking the worst person because they're relying on everyone else. So this worst person is going to be your mentor because we can't really lose anybody else because we're too busy doing. So you may have to do what I did. Okay. I couldn't find decent mentors. And if I did find a mentor, they were in it for them. It was a very short, brief conversation. So I worked for one mega company for like 20 years, or for like 10 years. And they finally assigned me a mentor in the last 3 years at the job. And this gentleman, I respected the gentleman. He was smart enough, but he assigned a book for me to read, which I already read, and it had no impact on what I was doing, nor did it answer any questions to any challenges I was with, etc. It was just a stupid thing. It didn't solve anything. But in that sentence, you heard he offered me a book to read. And if you look behind me, this is my office/study. So I have 3 walls in this room that are covered in books. And in my library up in front of the house, I have 4 times as many books as I have in this room. And then I have a third room that is starting to take books now too, just because I have that many. I found that for me, mentors were in books. So I went to the nonfiction books, the historical, autobiographical books, and that's what I read. Anything about business, anything about investing, leadership, any of that stuff, I read all of it. And I can't get enough, right? So I'm also on LinkedIn and on Facebook, and I'm on all those leadership groups. So I'm reading the articles and all those things as they come out, and the periodicals from online. Inc. magazine's one, Money magazine's one, Wall Street Journal's another. You get all these different sides of different stories, which is useful. But what's great about books and using a book as a mentor is you can't interrupt that author while they're teaching you that subject. And they're teaching you that subject from their viewpoint. So if it's different from your viewpoint, it may teach you to shut up and listen to someone else's point of view, and that may be useful for you. If you currently do not read books and you're an entrepreneur, you're in trouble. As an entrepreneur, you have to get smarter every single day to better serve your customers and your team. And to keep your team engaged, you need to be training them and growing them up as a better teammate. And you do that by constantly learning new stuff yourself so you can constantly share those new things with their team. So part of being a mentor and finding experienced mentors is important. Just know that a lot of places talk about having a mentorship program and they do not. They're giving you the worst for something, and basically it's a bunch of words. It's not anything that's actually going to serve you. So don't ignore mentorship, but if you can't find it, if you can't work directly with the mentor, then get in the books, get on the the podcasts, get on the listening things about those subject matters and let them help you. Learn from that way. So if a human mentor is not in front of you, you have the option of having all the same mentors that I have from all different times. And books are very cheap at Goodwill, guys. A hardback's like $2, a softback's 99 cents. Elsewhere in the world, if you don't have Goodwill, it's a thrift shop. Go in and buy all the business books. Even if it's from the 70s and 80s, buy that, because the definitions to those things that we paid attention to in business back then were the same, right? Technology has changed, but business is the same. Business has been the same for thousands of years. So just know that you can get mentorship through those books. So if you don't have it, don't ignore it, address it. And if you can't address it with people, then do it with books until those people come along. And they will come along in life, okay? 6 is failure to delegate. We've talked about delegation in many, many videos. If you try to do everything yourself, you will drop something. And it goes back to the time management. You need to be able to hire the right team so you can delegate important things to people that are competent and can handle it in the way that you expect it to be handled. All that has to be part of delegation. If you give it to someone and you don't give them any direction and you don't tell them what you expect to come from it, then they don't know what they're shooting at. Give them a target that they can really aim for and get after. So delegate, do that correctly and appropriate. And then forbid multitasking. Just like I said, it's just doing a bunch of things poorly. So make sure that when you're delegating stuff to people, they make sure that they manage their time, and hire people only that use your time management suggestions. Make that be deliberate. You're an entrepreneur. So if you can afford 5,000 employees, then great, have the 5,000 employees. If you can afford the one, then great, hire the right one. Give them the tools to have proper time management, proper attention span to the things that are important. Delegate those things to them, and as they grow in time, then they can train people how you like things done, etc. And you grow your team that way. And then you can find out that now you're in 2 places or 3 places because these people are doing this the way you would, and you get better information that way, and it serves you better. Okay, so make sure you delegate. Failure to delegate is a misstep for entrepreneurs. Number 7 is inadequate networking. Okay, so failing to build valuable professional connections is a mistake. Okay, it's much easier now than it used to be. Everything you do, you should try to put in a CRM of some sort or the other. Facebook and LinkedIn are 2 very good CRMs. And CRM is just contact management. That's it. So Facebook, if I meet somebody and you're friendly and they're nice people and I believe in what they believe in, I will friend them on Facebook, see how they're doing, etc. And I have friends from all over the world that are on Facebook. LinkedIn, on the other hand, is business only. Now, some of my friends from Facebook are on my LinkedIn, but the majority of people on LinkedIn I do business with, or I've met them at some point in the act of doing business, and that's where all those names came from. If you're starting a business and you're very young, put their information in your LinkedIn, right? Write their information in your contact book or in some CRM in your computer that you will keep and transfer every time you change computers, etc. Because if you do that, you will have information. You can build this network that's useful. And then you can mingle throughout this network with meals or functions or whatever it is to try to drive business to those people. Try to give away something to those people first and see if it doesn't turn around and give you business back. That's how you properly use a network. But failing to build a valuable professional network these days, it's negligent. You're just getting in your own way. Also, at some point when you start, you may have a lot of business, but you may change something you're doing, which may limit the amount of business you have coming in. So you want to have that network built so that that business can still come to you from a grassroots type effect or grassroots type effort, where you're not having to do additional effort. That's what I love about YouTube videos. I can do a video on here, and if I'm consulting with someone, I can tell them, hey, I did a video on that. Go look up this video title. And now I'm in two places at one time. I can be off doing something else, and the video that I've done previous to that can then teach them how to do these certain things. That's why YouTube is such an effective tool. And that's why I can also be a mentor for people that live around the world, and here it is on YouTube for free. So that's kind of how you have to look at that and building your network and, increasing the reach of your mentorship. The next piece on this is failure to communicate. People sometimes don't understand what that means, but poor communication with team members and stakeholders or vendors or partners, or poor communication means what you said and your idea around it doesn't get to the person you're trying to talk to, and they not understand clearly what you want, what you need, and where you're coming from. So you want to make sure that you're focusing on your communication, and every different person has a communication style. So that's why you want to kind of align yourself with people that have the communication style like you do. And then if they don't communicate like you do effectively naturally, then what you have to figure out is how to communicate to them that would make what you say more beneficial, more relevant to what they're doing. So failure to communicate, if you have limitations in communication, you need to focus on that and try to correct it, okay? If you're using improper English and improper verbiage, if you're talking poorly, if you're using a lot of profanity, etc., you're going to turn a lot of people off, so you're going to cost yourself a lot of business doing that. One of the things I say about communication, no one cares about your political point of view. When it comes to business, your idea should be, how do I get as many of my widgets into these people's businesses as possible? You should not care what their beliefs are. As long as they're decent human beings and they pay their vendors and they do good work with it being mindful to improve somebody's situation, then that should be who you're trying to do business with. A lot of people these days have to blurt out how they feel about everything, and they cut their customer base in half. If you think about, like in the States, it's either liberal or conservative. If you sell t-shirts, why would you just sell them to liberals or just sell them to conservatives? Why wouldn't you have customizable versions and sell it to everybody? And then why wouldn't you keep your opinion to self and say, hey, we're just here to sell t-shirts? I've seen so many things do that. Like Levi Strauss is one that comes to mind. They took a hard political stance about 8 years ago, and I haven't bought another pair of Levi Strauss. So you can impact your customer base very quickly by saying something stupid because you didn't think it through. And here's the other piece too. All coins have two sides, right? Why would you play to one side of the coin if you're serious about your business? It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. So failure to communicate, be effective and know what communication is and how it's going to impact the people you're communicating with. 9 is ineffective leadership. I think this is a huge challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, lacking the ability to lead and inspire a team. Your team will do what you do, and it says, are you showing up? Here's what I'll say about that. If you can't inspire your team, if you don't have a positive attitude, if you're miserable and your people are miserable and you try to make your people miserable, you're going to have a shitty business. It's not going to go well. If you want an engaged team that's energetic and wants to do well for your business, that's going to look completely different. Those people are going to expect certain things from you every day. You're going to have to show up every day. You're going to have to be positive. Even if you have a bad day, be positive. Because if you're a positive person and you say, well, we'll get through this just like we did, that shows that you have a mindset that we're here for a long term. If everything's, woe is me, if everything's the end of the world, you're doing nothing but adding stress and angst to your team. You're not doing anything to improve yourself. Because if you're worrying about everything, you're not living in the moment. And go back to what I said about being present in the moment. This, the power of now. The power of now says, and it's not just this book. This is an interesting book, but it's even biblical. Bible, it says, does the bird worry about where it's getting their food or their nest, etc.? If God will take care of that tiny little bird, what makes you think you, a special soul that he knows, would not be taken care of? And it goes to the same foolishness. Worrying about something does not make the situation better, right? So make sure you're being present. Make sure you're being positive, because if you're not doing those things, then you are a detriment to your team, and you don't need to be anywhere near them, okay? Your team that serves a specific function needs to live by a deliberate lifestyle. They need to be positive. Everything needs to be scheduled. Everything needs to be written down. We have a process to handle everything. If you're doing that with a positive attitude, then your team, the sky's the limit, okay? And they have an understanding of what the goal is, and that we're all doing our best to get to that goal. And that's what you need to do to be a positive leader in that situation. Number 10 is overlooking the importance of branding. If you neglect to build a strong brand identity, you're getting in your way. I agree with that to a point. Used to be back in the day, if you it is what it is. If you could get a widget for cheap and local to you, you'd buy that thing. So this spatula is great, and it does everything I need it to do. It's not some super spatula, right? So the point is, branding matters, but you don't want to limit yourself too much, okay? And then the second piece to that is you don't want to offer too much. So a lot of times when I go in and consult with restaurants, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, is the first thing I'll do is look at their menu. We're offering 712 things on the menu. There's absolutely no way you can stock the items to make all of these things and do that's financially reasonable and reliant, okay? And then you think that all the inventory that you hold on hand, you increase the risk of theft and you increase the risk of spoilage. So finite the offers that you have, right? Offer less, have the pricing fixed, and do that. Have the same package that you're doing. Now, through those processes, if it teaches you, hey, we can do this with just that, we don't have to change anything, then great. That's another service, another value add you can offer that doesn't incur additional cost outside of what you're already doing. So that can fall inside of your primary offering because you can do it with what you already have. And you build from there. You can't start out being everything to everybody. You can be something to somebody, and you can be everything to somebody, but you can't be something for everybody. So just think about those things with branding. That's what's important about branding. Brand what you're trying to truly offer and take it from there. Next common misstep for entrepreneurs is failure to set realistic goals. They're establishing goals that are too ambitious or too unrealistic, or they're not finite enough. So you want to aim at goals like you're shooting a rifle. Okay, what most people do is they use a shotgun and they don't know which direction, right? They're out shooting skeet when they should be shooting a fixed target. So, and if you're a gun person, you understand everything I said. If you don't, here's what I mean. One fixed goal is easy for people to aim at and easy for people to understand what's expected of them, so they're moving towards that goal. That's what you want to do, and then you build on your goals from there. So make sure you're setting real goals. A goal is something that has a deadline. So there's a period of time you want to reach this by this day, and you want to reach this by this day. And you want to check your progress every day as you're moving towards that, so you know what percentage you're improving by every day. That's how you set a realistic goal. You want to have realistic goals because you want your team to have wins. The more wins you celebrate, the more people are bought in, and the more wins you will see come naturally, okay? A winning team stays a winning team because the momentum gets behind them and they keep rolling. That's why if you're a leader, you have to be specific in who you hire. You have to be specific in how you handle your teams so they can become this winning team and start stacking these wins. That's how you do that, okay? Next piece is underestimating the sales process, assuming sales will happen naturally. Some sales do occur generically. Most, you want to have a sales process that you go through. You want to have a scripted version of that sales process where you have it memorized in your head. Everybody that works for you should have it memorized in your head. There should be something you make every teammate memorize, which is an elevator pitch. So they can go out and promote your company by saying 6 sentences. I am Ben Hyatt. I am an entrepreneur that likes to help other entrepreneurs grow their business. I'm a business consultant and leadership consultant that's helped industry leaders across the world. That might be a bit much, so you make it simpler. My name's Ben. I'm a business consultant. I try to make what your goals are come true by lining out your team, your schedule, and your goals so everybody can understand and get to that as one team. You want something that's easy to say, that's literally 2 or 3 sentences or less. By doing that, and if everybody in your company, even the guy that sweeps the floor and cleans up, if everybody has that pitch and they know what to say and has a card with that pitch on it, they can bring customers to you just very holistically and generically through their networks, etc. If you're doing LinkedIn as well, you put on there what you're doing, you show your wins on there, you put your customer raves on there and your customer reviews on there. That will drive business as well. And then you call out to customers that are similar to what those people are to try to drive new business. But that should be a process that you're documenting and learning from. All failures need to be documented and reviewed so you can learn from them. And then you set up best practices. And when you do that, now you'll start seeing more deliberate success because of how you're handling the sales process deliberately and with an idea of continuous improvement. Okay, you can't underestimate the sales process. Printing a flyer out with your prices and just emailing it out to everybody and putting it online, that's not a sales process. That's sales material, but they need to learn you. They need to learn your story. So let's say you own a trucking company, and let's say you're trying to get new customers for your trucking company. Then you start local. You go out to local construction sites, local construction companies, the local industrial boulevard where all the businesses are, and say, hey, this is what I do. I'm not sure who I'd talk to here about this, but here's my flyer. Here's my card. If they want to call about pricing on this, or if you have an urgent need, reach out. We'd be happy to help you. Who would I talk to about that here? And that person at the front desk may say, well, I'll give them your information. And you say, all right, well, no worries. Who would you give the information to? And get that name and then get that number, and a week later call on it. Say, hey, I was just calling you back. I dropped off a flyer last week and was wanting to see if any of that interested you or if you had any questions about the offers and services that we have available. And if you just get a 2-sentence conversation going with this person, that's a way to start back and maybe find out if they have a need so you can then use your trucking company to take care of their needs. I say it like that because a cold call is what you do in the beginning to build the world. And then if you're going out to, businesses that your family owns or where your family might work and just shaking hands and introducing yourself and you're putting all those people on LinkedIn, now every while on LinkedIn, you just say, hey guys, we have some opportunity for additional loads on this date. Does anyone need it? And then you've got sales going that way. And as you build your business, the next thing you want to think about is if you have a phone that you're not answering, that whoever answers that has a specific script that they're going by, and every single phone call in and out should be a sales call, meaning you're asking, do you have a need? And if so, when can we book you and when do you need it? You ask for the close in every conversation with everyone that answers the phone. If you're doing that, you're not missing any opportunity. A lot of companies, a lot of entrepreneurs miss the boat on that. They don't ask for the sale to everyone they talk to. Yes, you're going to be a nuisance to some, but at the end of the day, you're going to serve some and they're going to have fans. At the end of the day, you're going to learn that they don't need your services. You can hang out for different reasons. But the idea is, if you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to grow your business, through doing that, you will learn some of these processes to what people need seasonally. So then you'll know, hey, we call on these people in October because they're going to need our services in November and December because of the holiday stuff or whatever that may be. But that's how you build that up. So don't underestimate the sales process. Every single phone call in and out should be a sales call technically because you're asking about business there. So let's say I do a collection call and I'm calling a guy and saying, hey, I look to see that you have $16,000 that you owe us. This was due at the first of the month, and it's now the 25th. Wanted to see if we could go ahead and get that paid today. If so, what credit card number should I put that on? And then that person is either going to get me a credit card or say, no, well, we want to do it this way. I'm like, well, I understand. Can you give me that person on the phone? Because I need to go ahead and get this paid off today since we're already a month behind. And then he said, all right, well, just use my card. So now he's giving you your credit card. You run your transaction. You do the transaction. As soon as you're done with the transaction, his account's paid in full and it is current. Then you say, all right, sir, appreciate that payment. I don't want you to run out anything before the end of the year. What would you like to go ahead and order now? Well, I don't really need anything right now, but if I did, I would get this, this, and this. So you go through that, you listen, you write it down and say, okay, well, what you just said is you need this many packages of this by the end of the month. Can I go ahead and use the credit card number you just gave me to go ahead and place that order for you? And bam, not only have you made a collection call where you got it caught up, now you've also taken the information and made an additional sale on the back end of a collection call. So a customer that once thought you were going to be a nuisance, now you've taken care of him. He's caught up. You made another sale to take care of his needs the next month. And you got off the call saying, hey, Thank you for your business. If there's anything you need, please give me a call. Let me know how I can help. We don't want you to go without any time. And if you know anybody else that could use our business, or if you have recommendations, anybody should reach out to today that might be able to use this as well. And that point, that customer has paid off a big amount with you, has just ordered another amount with you, and said, by the way, yeah, I do know a guy. Now you're getting the guy's name and number from this cat. And if you're on LinkedIn and this guy's on LinkedIn and he can't remember the guy's number, no problem. I'll reach out to them on LinkedIn and we'll say, hey, from there, okay, well, you have a great day. You have a great day too. And then you hang up. And in that instant, you go to LinkedIn, you look up that person's name, you message them on LinkedIn and say, hey, Brian, I talked to John today. We do business together and I really enjoy him as a customer. But in conversation today, he recommended that you might actually need our services too. So I wanted to go ahead and reach out. My name is blah, and this is my business. Please reach out at any time, or I can follow up later in the week. And you send that to that person right then so you don't forget, and then you write them down in your book, and now you've made a contact, you've gone for that, you've taken care of your customer, and every phone call has been a sales call. So that's how you handle that. You don't underestimate the sales process. It should be part of everything you do as an entrepreneur. If you're not living your business as an entrepreneur, you will not be successful. Okay? What I mean by that is everywhere you go. So everywhere I go, I talk to people like this. Yes, you can imagine somebody like, he doesn't shut up. I'm not like that. If they come into a conversation and they want some information from me, I'm not saying, all right, well, I'm a consultant that I'll cost you $1,000. No, I talk to them. I engage them. I show them what I know. But before I'm done, I hand them a card and say, hey, this is what I can do for you if that's what you need. Reach out to that number anytime. If I'm not there, leave a message and I'll get back with you. And as I'm walking away, I've left them with something where they can reach out to me. So if there is any interest, or if in the back of their mind they know somebody that might need my help, they have that card in a way to get in touch with me. People say all the time, well, everything's digital now, I don't carry a card anymore. Well, you're an idiot. Cards have worked for hundreds of years. So you think now because of technology, you don't need a card anymore. You're going to have somebody pull out their phone in traffic when you can just hand them a card, or in a loud restaurant where they can't hear your number to put it in their phone, etc. Hand them the card. Yes, they can throw it away, or they can use it later. And now they have scan codes where they can scan the card and it takes them right to the website where they can do the transaction right there too. It's idiotic not to have that available, where you can make every conversation on the street a sales conversation without being pushy. You can say, hey, here's my card, man. This is what I do. What do you do? Can I get your card? Get their card, add them to your LinkedIn. Hey, bud, it was good talking to you today. You're building that network. If you just do that twice a day with two people a day, 14 people a week, right? Have 52 weeks in a year. Do the math on 14 times 52. That is a lot of people that you can make contacts with every year if you start today. Okay, so it doesn't matter if your network's two people. Start today. If your network, I'll use one of my examples, one of my nephews, for example. I got a nephew that's just started a business. If he were to send me a LinkedIn invite, I would take it instantly. Now he's got my thousands of contacts from years of doing business all over the world. Right? So as he's doing things to grow his business, he's not going to annoy those people by sending them random messages, but he could say, hey, Uncle Ben, this guy is right down my alley. He lives right down the street. You think you would reach out to this guy and introduce me? Hell yeah, I can introduce you. Let me call him. I'm calling him right now. But the idea is, I've had people call me and say, hey, Mr. Hyatt, my daughter is moving there. She needs a job. I know you're in the area. Is there anyone you'd recommend where she'd be safe, but actually could have a workplace that's engaging where she'd enjoy? Abso-friggin-lutely. Abso-friggin-lutely. Send me her resume and I'll give her a call. And so I get the resume. I call the young lady, introduce myself, find out what she wants, what she's interested in, and I make 3 or 4 phone calls. Interviews come just that quickly because, hey, Mr. Ben called and I like that guy, or I can't stand that guy, but he sends us good people. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But now if that young lady has an opportunity, guess what? Now she's on my LinkedIn, and if she goes and works there and does a good job, now she may recommend other people, hey, reach out to him. He can help you. The point is, you want to give away those things for free because it's still going to serve you. It's going to serve you to send a quick note, and that's better than writing something down on a freaking sticky tab. So do these things, or learn yourself, and in 20 years you'll have that figured out, and maybe you'll make money then. But the idea as an entrepreneur is you want to treat everything as you are losing time. So that interaction, make it worth your while to the best of your capability. If you giving them a card and them giving you a card and you're sending them a note that night when you get home on LinkedIn to link with them, Quick message saying, hey, I really enjoyed talking to you today. Matter of fact, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more. You want to grab lunch? I'll buy you lunch next week. Do these things and do it as often as you can. If they say no, your life goes on. It doesn't hurt. But if they say yes, there's opportunity for all those exponential opportunities to have more opportunities. Okay? So that's how to use the sales process where you're building it that way. That's going to teach you what people engage around too. You may have a sales pitch that people hate. But talking to customers, there may be 3 sentences that they highlight. That's what you need to say. And so moving forward, you just say these 3 sentences. Why? Because your customers told you this is all you need to say. And that helps you get more customers. So that's the point, is neglecting that, you're gonna neglect the growth that you're working for. And you're an entrepreneur, so you're supposed to live for your business. So freaking live for your business and do what I'm telling you here. Do what I'm telling you. Okay? So that's underestimating the sales process, which we just talked about that. Ignoring customer service is the next biggest piece. Let me say this out loud. Let me bring the microphone to my mouth. Customer service complaints are the greatest source of knowledge that you will ever be given for free. Customer service complaints are the greatest amount of knowledge that you will ever be given for free. This person is so fired up and this matters to them so much right now, they're going to tell you everything that's wrong with your product, your service, your phone number is stupid, your email smells funny. They're going to tell you everything. So listen, okay? Listen to them, not to try to combat and argue. You think my product is shit? Okay, I agree. Tell me why you thought it was. Because when we shipped it to you, I didn't think it was, and that's in your head. But now they're telling you why it is. And so you write down all those things. They may be crazy as a loon. This person may be, that means they're insane. That's an old school term. But they may not have a brain in their head. But at the end of that conversation, they may say, and also I cut my finger on the corner of this packaging. So if you didn't learn anything else from that crazy person, you learned, why the hell is the packaging so sharp? Right? So then you go down and you get your finished goods and you walk up to the packaging and you run your hand out. Wow, I just cut my finger off, right? You learn something from this crazy person. So whatever it is, you take the time, and there should be a period of time blocked out on your schedule just for that. The last thing you want to do is try to handle a customer complaint and make them hold or wait because you got to do something else real quick before you come back to them, because then you're going to lose them. They're going to go off the corner of its insanity and lose it. But by listening to those things, documenting those things, have a spreadsheet where every customer complaint is documented. And if you have a staff and you have a staff meeting, you need to review those things with your entire staff, however big it may be, the next week in the staff meeting, so they know what our customers are complaining about. And you need to be deliberate about fixing those things. Okay? So that is the greatest source of information you will get outside of your team. Your team is the other greatest source of information you'll get, because they'll tell you how to cut corners off the process, or you can just watch them. And even though you've got this process you've lined out to be done this way, you're seeing they're cutting these corners to do it this way. Well, figure out if that way's better, make it safe, and see if there's any cost savings in it. That's what you have to do, because the natural effect is what's going to happen if what you intend is not held to the rails, okay? So don't ignore customer service. Neglecting the importance of excellent customer service will put you out of business. Neglecting the importance of excellent customer service will put you out of business. I've seen businesses do things that are atrocious here. They don't answer the call. They don't call the person back. They don't email the person back. The person goes to dead ends. The person who spent their good hard-earned money with you doesn't hear back from you. They want to know where their product is, or they got it and it's not up to spec. Now they're a nuisance. This person, when they bought that product, they looked at it and saw, ooh, I need that. I want that. I need that. Right? So your marketing and your efforts have worked. And then what you do, you're going to teach them a lesson. You're going to say, we've got your money, you shut up. We'll get it to you. That's ridiculous. Okay? You need to get the product from the person, make sure they're happy with the product, take their money, give them the day to talk about it or whatever else. But if they call back, you handle that complaint, you show them why your product's relative, exactly what they wanted, how it serves their needs, because you've asked them about that. And then before you get off the phone and say, hey, bud, you know what goes really great with this product? This case. And if you buy this case today, I can get it for you for this price. But also we have a sale on this, this, and this. If you bought one of each of these, the total would only be $150. You want to do that today if I throw in free shipping? Now a complaint has come in. You've now sold $150 more product to the guy, or at least asked the guy about that. And there you are. Everything becomes a sales call because it's part of your sales process. Okay? So ignoring customer service is a great way to misstep and kill your business. Number 14 is not tracking key metrics. Ignoring important business performance indicators. When I go to businesses that are struggling, one of the first things I find out is they don't even know their KPIs. They don't even know why they should even look at KPIs. They have no documentation of KPIs. No sales documentation. Can't tell me. I ask, what does your product cost? What does it cost you to make? And they're like, well, my customer pays. No. What does it cost you to make your widget? What do you sell it for? Okay, what different prices do you sell it for? So can I assume that if your cost is this and you sell it for that, then this is your profit margin? Well, no, because I have my labor. Well, your labor should be included in cost. Let's start this again. And you come down to the final piece of profit margin. And what that may tell you is these 3 product lines make sense because they make this much profit. This product line makes no sense because it costs this much and makes this much profit. So if you could cut that out, you can make more of these, which would then give you more profit, especially if the demand is much higher with these. So your KPIs is very important. It's going to tell you how to be a better business. And as you have your business in place and you have all these things locked down, so no longer a risk for you, now those KPIs are going to tell you what you need to focus on to improve moving forward, because that continuous improvement process should be in your mind, and that should be what you're trying to do. So the not tracking those key performance indicators, also it doesn't let you improve your team if you're not looking at that, because your team may be doing things and you may need to say, hey, this is what your results are, let's see if you do this, and then it gives you a way to show what their success is based on those KPIs. So not tracking key metrics is absurd. The next one is inability to learn from mistakes, repeating the same errors without learning. Failing forward is allowing people to fail, studying why they failed and what knowledge came from it, and then preventing the same failure moving forward, right? Failing forward is not doing the same crap that jacks you up every single week and just doing it again next week, okay? Process implementation is something that comes to mind with this. So when I go to businesses, they'll say, well, each week, we do this much this week. We had 12 hours overtime. Okay, how much production are you getting for the 12 hours overtime? I have no idea. Why? Because we don't do production by machine. All right, well, come up with production sheets. Let's do production by machine. So you say to get all this in place as a consultant, then they don't get it in place. And so 3 months later, they're saying the same thing. All right, so you're going to pay me to come back and consult again and tell you the same thing that I told you 3 months ago because you didn't do it? Okay, this is how I get paid, so I'll just keep doing it, and you keep doing what you're doing. But ultimately, the money's going to run out, okay, or your teammate's going to quit, because there's no process in place to make them successful. And if they're successful and they're producing a lot of widgets, then you may pay them extra for all the additional widgets they did. And if they control their costs and their quality, then you may have to pay them even more, because those KPIs say, hey, this person produces the most widgets in the shortest amount of time at the best price. Well, that person is what you want because they're maximizing your revenue and your specific profit in that revenue stream. Okay? So you have to be able to learn from your mistakes. You have to be able to take those seriously. You have to have people feel comfortable in failing forward because they're giving their best, but sometimes people fail. So you want to learn from that and show that, hey, something good comes out of this still. We're going to learn from it and we'll fix it so in the future we don't do that again. And you document that, and it improves your process. And each time you have a mistake, that's how you improve your process, and that's how your processes get better. And when a process is best, then it becomes a best practice. And then you take that process, best practice, and if you have multiple locations, you replicate it across all locations, and you'll see that same cost savings across all locations. Or if you have different lines, you can use that same process, best practice across all lines. So now you're multiplying the benefit. And when you're doing that exponentially, that's how you impact the business in a grand way with the same effort that you paid for once. So you don't have to pay for it over and over. You just have to implement it and support it. Okay? So learn from mistakes. The next common misstep is ignoring personal development, neglecting to invest in continuous learning and growth. I mentioned this earlier. One of the things I said about the mentorship and books, the reason that's so beneficial is you don't have to wait on anybody else to participate, right? You can still control it and you can still demand that of yourself. So that's why that is super important. So now we're going to do these one more time. That's everything that's on this. Don't ignore personal development. You could take college courses. You can take it at a local community college. You can read books. You can take assessments online. You can read articles online. You can watch videos like these that are full of this type of information. This information comes from me and everything I've read and everything I've studied and everything I've done professionally for a 30-some-odd year career. Okay? So you're learning right now what it took me 30-some-odd years to learn, and you're whatever age you are. So if you're a young person and you're 15, you're now getting all this valuable information that it took me 35 years to learn, and you're 15. So now over your next 35 years, don't waste your time relearning what I've already given you. You take that and you start from there. That's how continuous improvement works, okay? That's how using mentors and using things like that works. So we'll review these missteps again. Be deliberate about fixing these things. Put things in place that allow you to support the processes so you get better. Don't just, half-ass this. Get after it and do it for real, and you'll see that you impact your business in a major, major way. So the common missteps are financial mismanagement, ineffective marketing, choosing the wrong team, poor time management, ignoring mentorship, failure to delegate, inadequate networking, failure to communicate, ineffective leadership, overlooking the importance of branding, failure to set realistic goals, underestimating the sales process, ignoring customer service, not tracking key metrics, the inability to learn from mistakes, and ignoring personal development. If you focus on these right here over the next year and your business is not leaps and bounds better, then come back and watch this video again, or hire a consultant like me to come in and show you what it is you're missing. But if you use these things and you review these things daily, weekly, monthly, and then yearly, and you get through the seasonality, you can build a business that will last a lifetime. And that's what you should be trying to do, is build a business that you can give to your grandchildren and your children and your grandchildren, and they can pass that on. To have multiple generations of a family be able to live and work off of one business is an amazing, amazing accomplishment. And think about this. There was a company in Japan that just closed that had been open for 1,400 years. It closed just a few years ago. I read that case study and it was incredible. I mean, it literally had been in business for 1,400 years in the same family line. Think about that, okay? That's what a business can be. And so that family for 1,400 years did not have to come up with an alternative way of living, which of course people do move on and do their own thing. But think about that, 1,400 years. I couldn't imagine how many greats is that in a grandchild from the guy that opened the company and the lady that opened the company or whatever that is. So just, the sky is the limit. Be deliberate, be appropriate, be approachable. Everything is a sales opportunity. Everything is a networking opportunity. Be polite. Don't be a hard closer. Think about yourself and what you like. I don't like hard closers. The second somebody tries to hard close me or pressure me, I'm done. I don't listen to that. I simply say, hey, this is what I do. What do you do? And I talk, and we get that conversation going, and hopefully they like me. And if they like me well enough and I get a card from them, I'll send them a little message later. And a few months later, I'll send them a message again. And then if somebody comes to me wanting a business or a service and that person does it, I'll send that lead to that person and say, hey, bud, remember we talked at such and such? I'd like to have lunch with you because I know somebody that might actually be able to use your service. So then you take that person to lunch and you give them a business lead. Now you're a friend. Now there's somebody that they're going to reach out to, and then you can ask them for your sale and say, hey, is there any way you can use me for this, that, and the other? But the point is, when you get into it and you're living the business, it's not a sales pitch. It's not a begging. It's not a hard sell. It's just a, hey, I'm here. You do that. Here, this person needs what you do. Everybody needs what I do. And that is how you build a network that it's symbiotic. There is no winner in that situation. It is a win-win-win. Everybody wins, okay? So there's no victim. Hopefully this video is useful to you. It's run along about an hour, but this is the kind of content that is on this channel. So if this is useful to you, there is videos on just about every step of this information. So feel free to go through the catalog on the channel and find out what else might be of use to you. But please like and please subscribe. I'm trying to grow this channel. I'm not doing this for the subscriptions, but I do want people to subscribe so my stuff gets pushed further out there and more people get to use it and learn from it. The more people I can help is what I'm going for in this lifetime. And if you're doing the same, you should have a lot of success. I'm Ben. I appreciate your attention. Be good.